All right, so you're getting ready for this performance video designer interview, and you want to like totally nail it, right?
Definitely.
We're going to help you out today using RealCatcher's resources to help you totally crush this thing.
It's like a backstage pass for your interview. We're going to break down the core skills and then those tricky questions. And we'll even show you how RoleCatcher's AI can be like your secret weapon.
Awesome. So before we get too far, let's step back and just like define this. What does a performance video designer actually do?
Yeah, so it's more than just like flashy visuals. We're talking about weaving a whole design concept into a performance using projections to not just like decorate, but like elevate the entire experience.
Oh, wow. So you're like a visual storyteller.
Exactly.
That's cool.
And it's not just the artistic vision, it's the technical know-how to like bring that vision to life. So the RoleCatcher Career Guy really emphasizes recording, editing, projection mapping. It's a blend of creativity and technical expertise.
And the guide mentions you might even work independently, like making your own art too.
Yeah,
That's really cool. Okay, so let's get into like the interview itself. RoleCatcher's interview guide gives us 10 sample questions, and we're going to break those down one by one.
sounds good.
Awesome. So the first one is, what inspired you to become a performance video designer? Seems like kind of a basic question.
Yeah, it is a pretty simple question, but they want to hear your story. The thing that sparked your passion for all of this, was it like a specific performance or a mentor who inspired you or a piece of technology that just blew your mind?
So it's not about just like listing your qualifications. It's more about the WHY.
Exactly. It's your chance to show them your enthusiasm.
Let them feel that connection.
Exactly.
I love it. Now, let's say you nail that answer,
Yeah.
but then they ask a follow-up question like, can you elaborate on that experience? Or how has that inspiration shaped your approach to design?
Yeah, you always want to be ready for those follow-ups. They want to see if your passion is backed up with real thought and experience.
So don't just give them like a surface level answer.
No, they want to see the depth of your knowledge.
Awesome. All right. So question number 2, can you walk us through your design process? I feel like this is more than just like listing software.
Right. It's about your thought process, how you take an idea and make it reality. So walk them through the steps, like how you research, brainstorm, collaborate, storyboard, and then finally execution.
Oh, so it's like showing them behind the scenes, showing them you're organized and can collaborate.
Exactly. And you can mention software and techniques too, but focus on the HOW and not just the what.
That makes a lot of sense. And for a follow-up, do you think they might ask about a specific time your process was challenged?
Yeah, for sure. They'll want to see you can think on your feet and overcome obstacles.
Okay. So question number 3, what tools and software do you use in your work? That one seems pretty straightforward.
It does seem pretty straightforward, but you can still stand out with your answer. So yeah, list the industry standard software, but also show them that you're adaptable and always learning.
So like, have you been playing around with a new program?
Exactly. Show them you're not just keeping up, but you're ahead of the curve.
I like that. And what about follow-ups for this one?
Oh, they might ask you to compare different programs or explain how you use a specific tool to get a certain effect. Be ready to demonstrate that technical knowledge.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, question 4. How do you balance artistic vision with technical limitations when designing performance video? That feels kind of tricky.
Yeah, it is. They want to see how you handle those limitations because budget, equipment, venue restrictions. Those limitations are going to happen.
Yeah, for sure.
So how do you approach them?
Do you like throw a fit? Or do you get creative and figure it out?
Right. You've got to find those workarounds. Give them a specific example of when you had to adjust your vision and still made something impactful.
So being resourceful is key.
Exactly.
And follow-ups.
They might ask about your experience with different budgets or how you prioritize features when time or money is tight.
So be ready to talk about how you make those tough decisions. Okay. Question number 5. How do you collaborate with other team members like directors and performers when designing performance video? So teamwork makes the dream work, right?
It really does in this field. It's a very collaborative process. So they want to know that you can communicate your ideas effectively, listen to feedback, and work together.
So you can't just be like a brilliant lone wolf.
You have to be a team player.
Okay, cool.
So highlight your ability to build relationships and be open to different perspectives and like navigate those creative differences.
And have some examples ready.
Yes, definitely.
Okay, so collaboration is super important, especially because we're seeing this trend towards more immersive experiences. And speaking of staying ahead of the game, let's go to question 6. How do you stay up to date with current trends and technology in performance video design?
Yeah, this industry changes so fast. New software techniques, trends, it can feel like a whirlwind. So they want to know you're staying on top of things.
Makes sense.
So how do you stay informed? Do you attend conferences, workshops? Do you take online courses? Or read industry blogs and publications?
Oh, yeah, let them know all that stuff.
And don't forget to mention specific examples of new technologies or techniques that you've learned about.
It's like you're in the driver's seat
Yeah.
of your own professional development.
Exactly.
So they'll be impressed by that. What kind of follow-up questions could come from this one?
Oh, they might ask about a recent trend that excites you, or how technology is shaping the future of performance video design. They want to see that you're forward-thinking.
Yeah, not just stuck in the past.
Right.
Awesome. Okay. So on to question number 7. Can you tell us about a project where you had to overcome a significant challenge? This one feels like a classic interview question.
It is, but it's a classic for a reason. Everyone faces challenges. So this question is all about your problem-solving skills and your resilience and your ability to learn from mistakes.
It's not about pretending that you're perfect.
No, it's about how you handle those curveballs.
So should we pick a project where everything went perfectly, or one where we really struggled?
Definitely choose a project where you hit some obstacles. It could be like a tight deadline, a budget constraint, a technical meltdown, or even a fight with a team member. Choose something that you navigated well and learned from.
So you can be honest about the struggles?
Yes, but you want to focus on how you overcame them.
And how you grew from that experience.
Right.
And I think you said earlier, we should be specific with our answers.
Yes, definitely. Use data or examples to really illustrate your point. Instead of saying, I improved communication with the team, you could say, by implementing a daily check-in system, we reduced miscommunications by 50% and streamlined our workflow.
Ooh, I like that. Numbers are powerful.
They are.
Okay, so we overcame this big challenge, but what did we learn from that?
Right. Did you discover a new approach to problem solving? Or maybe you learned how important clear communication is, or the value of a good backup system.
Yeah, those are all really important.
And speaking of growth, remember how the RoleCatcher Career Guide mentioned the growing demand for performance video designers?
Yes, it said it's going to grow by like 15% in the next 5 years.
Exactly. It's huge.
That's amazing.
So when you're talking about overcoming challenges, you can also subtly work in that this is an industry where you have to be adaptable.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, it shows that you understand the industry.
Okay, so let's move on to question number 8. How do you measure the success of a performance video design project? So this feels like it's more than just like, did the audience clap?
It is. It's about aligning your work with the goals of the project. Like, are you enhancing the performance, conveying a specific message, creating a memorable experience? You have to understand the WHY behind the visuals.
This is about more than just making something pretty.
Exactly.
How can we answer this one well?
So talk about the specific metrics you use to evaluate your work. Do you consider audience feedback or analyze the reactions of the director and performers? Maybe look at technical data like how accurate the projection mapping was. You want to tie those metrics back to the goals.
So instead of saying the show went well, I could say the goal was to create a dreamlike atmosphere. And based on post-show surveys, 90% of the audience felt transported to another world.
Perfect. You got it.
Okay, I'm getting this now.
And of course, be ready for those follow-up questions about adapting your design based on feedback or balancing creative goals with practical limitations.
So where art meets reality.
Exactly.
Okay, on to question number 9. How do you ensure that the video elements enhance the live performance without overshadowing it? That sounds like walking a tightrope.
It is. Remember, video design shouldn't steal the show. It's about supporting and elevating the whole experience.
So it's like being the sidekick, not the superhero.
Right.
I like that. How do we answer this one?
You can explain how you work with the director and the performers to seamlessly integrate the video. Do you use subtle transitions? Do you choose visuals that complement the lighting and set design? Do you think about the timing of the video cues?
So you don't want to distract from what's happening on stage?
Exactly.
So you're guiding the audience's attention.
Right.
Okay. Question number 10. How do you ensure that your work is accessible and inclusive to all audiences? This one is becoming more and more important, I think.
It is. It shows that they're looking for someone who is not just skilled, but also conscientious.
Right.
So you want to show that you've thought about this and you've integrated it into your design process.
Do you provide captions, audio descriptions? Do you choose imagery that is culturally sensitive?
Yeah, give specific examples of how you've done all of that.
Yeah.
And you can mention universal design principles.
So you're creating a welcoming experience
Yeah.
for everybody.
Exactly.
Hey, that's great.
Now, before we jump into how RoleCatcher's AI can help you prepare, I think it's really important to say that you should try to work these ideas into all of your answers, not just this one.
Oh, that's a good point.
It shows that you're really committed to these values.
Not just giving a canned response.
Right. So now imagine you're preparing for this interview, and you've got all your answers written down. But what if you could get feedback from an AI expert?
That would be nice.
Well, that's what RoleCatcher does. It analyzes your answers and gives you suggestions and helps you tailor them to the specific job. It's like a virtual interview coach.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah, it helps you see where you can be more concise or impactful. It even helps you anticipate follow-up questions.
It's like a secret weapon.
It is.
I love it. Okay, so beyond the AI, what about the career itself? What are some insights that we can use to impress these interviewers?
You know that trend we talked about? The industry moving towards immersive experiences? If you can connect that to your skills,
Oh, that's smart.
it shows that you're not just following trends, you're leading them.
I like that. So if I've worked with virtual reality or augmented reality, I should mention that.
For sure. Or if you've done interactive projections or 3D mapping, talk about how those have shaped your understanding.
So it's not just talk, it's experience.
Show them you've walked the walk. No. And you should also mention that the demand is growing. It shows that you understand the industry.
It's good to be in a field with a future.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And one more thing. Don't be afraid to highlight your versatility. You know, this career path can go beyond traditional venues. Like you could do video art installations or work in film.
That's really cool.
So show them you're adaptable and you're excited to explore different things.
So I'm not just looking for a job, I'm looking for a career.
Exactly.
I love that.
Okay, let's shift gears and get back to those interview questions. We've got a few more to unpack, and I want to make sure you're ready to handle them with confidence.
Awesome, let's do it.
So we were talking about how to answer the question about overcoming a challenge in a project.
Right.
And remember we said it's good to choose an example where you had to deal with like a deadline or a budget problem or maybe even a disagreement with someone on the team.
Yeah, and then you can show them
Yeah.
how you dealt with it.
Exactly. You want to pick a challenge that you were able to overcome. And then you can explain what you learned from that.
So we can show them that we can handle those tough situations.
Right. And don't forget, you want to be specific with your answers.
Right. Use those numbers and examples.
Yeah. So instead of just saying like, I improved communication, you
Yeah.
could say something like, by having everyone check in each day, we cut down on miscommunications by 50%.
Oh, that's a good one. I'm going to have to remember that.
And it's not just about showing that you can solve problems. It's also about showing that you're always learning.
Right. You're constantly growing.
Exactly. And that ties into something we talked about earlier, about the demand for performance video designers.
Oh, yeah. The career guide said that it's supposed to grow a lot.
Yeah, like 15% in the next 5 years.
Wow.
So when you're talking about overcoming challenges, you can also mention that adaptability is a really important skill in this field.
Oh, that's a good point.
It shows them you understand the industry.
Okay, cool. So what's the next question? Number 8. How do you measure the success of a performance video design project? This feels a little more complicated than just like counting how many people clap at the end.
Yeah, it is. It's really about making sure your work is aligned with the goals of the project. So are you like enhancing the emotional impact or conveying a specific message or creating a really unique experience for the audience?
So it's about more than just making it look good.
Right.
How can we answer this one well?
You can talk about the specific ways you measure success. Like, do you look at audience feedback or do you analyze the reactions of the director and the performers? You could even look at technical data, like how accurate the projection mapping was.
Okay, so there are lots of different ways to measure success.
Yeah. And the key is to connect those metrics back to the goals of the project.
So instead of just saying the audience loved it, I could say something like, the goal was to create this sense of claustrophobia in one scene. And based on our post-show surveys, 85% of the audience said they felt that way.
That's a perfect example.
Okay.
And of course, be ready for follow-up questions about how you adapt your design based on feedback and how you balance your creative goals with practical limitations.
Right. Sometimes you have to make compromises.
Exactly.
Okay. On to question number 9. How do you ensure that the video elements enhance the live performance without overshadowing it? That feels like a really tricky balance.
It is. Video design shouldn't take over the whole show. It's there to support the performance.
So it's like a supporting role.
Exactly.
How can we answer this one?
Talk about how you work with the director and the performers to make sure the video is integrated seamlessly. So do you use subtle transitions? Do you choose visuals that match the lighting and the set design? Do you think carefully about the timing of the video cues?
Right, you don't want to distract from the performers. So it's all about guiding the audience's attention without being too overwhelming.
And you can also talk about your approach to visual storytelling. How do you use video to create different moods? Or build tension? Or make a scene more emotionally powerful?
Right, because that's a big part of it too.
Yeah.
Okay, last question, number 10. How do you ensure that your work is accessible and inclusive to all audiences?
This is such an important question. It shows that they're looking for someone who's not just a good designer, but also someone who's thoughtful and responsible.
Right.
You want to show them that you've thought about this and that it's a part of your design process.
So, like, do you provide captions and audio descriptions? Or do you make sure your imagery is culturally sensitive?
Yeah, give them specific examples of how you've done all of that. And you can mention universal design principles too.
Which is about making things accessible to everyone.
Exactly.
So it's about making sure everyone feels welcome.
Right.
And that their needs are being met.
Exactly.
Okay, I think that's really important.
Yeah. And I think it's worth saying, again, that you should try to work these ideas of accessibility and inclusivity into all of your answers, not just this one.
So that's a good point.
It shows that you're really committed to these values.
Not just trying to give the right answer. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the questions.
Right.
But what about RoleCatcher's AI? You mentioned earlier that it can help us prepare.
Yeah, so imagine this. You've written out all your answers, but you want to get some feedback on them.
Right.
Well, RoleCatcher can do that. It analyzes your answers and gives you suggestions, and it helps you tailor them to the specific job you're applying for. It's like having an AI coach in your pocket.
Wow.
It can point out places where you can be more concise or where you can make a stronger impact. It can even help you anticipate follow-up questions.
So I can be ready for anything.
Exactly. That's incredible.
It's like having a secret weapon.
It is. Okay, so we've talked about the AI.
Right.
And we talked about the interview questions, but what about like the bigger picture? What are some insights about the career itself that can really impress the interviewers?
Remember that trend we talked about earlier about the industry moving towards immersive experiences?
Yeah, that's something you can really highlight. If you can connect that to your skills and your experience, it shows that you're not just following trends, you're ahead of the curve.
Oh, I see.
So if you've worked on projects that involve virtual reality or augmented reality, you should definitely mention that.
Right.
Or if you've experimented with interactive projections or 3D mapping. Talk about how those experiences have shaped your understanding of design.
So it's not just about talking the talk. It's about walking the walk.
Exactly.
Okay.
And you can also mention that the demand for performance video designers is growing. It shows that you've done your research and you understand the industry.
That's a good thing to be in a field with a future.
Right.
Okay, cool.
And one more thing, don't be afraid to highlight your versatility. This career path can lead to all sorts of opportunities beyond just traditional performance venues.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Like you could create video art installations or work in the film industry.
Wow, that's really cool.
So show them that you're adaptable.
Yeah.
And that you're excited to explore different avenues.
So it's not just about getting a job. It's about finding a career that I'm passionate about.
Exactly. I love that.
Okay, let's get back to those interview questions. We've got a few more to cover, and I want to make sure you're feeling really confident.
All right, sounds good.
All right, so we were talking about choosing a good example for that question about overcoming a challenge.
Right, a project where things didn't go perfectly.
Exactly. You want to show them that you can handle those tough situations.
Yeah.
And that you learn from your mistakes.
So like a project with a tight deadline. Or maybe a technical problem that came up.
Yeah, those are good examples. And remember, you want to be really specific. Use data or examples to make your point.
Right, like using numbers to show the impact.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So instead of saying, I improved communication, you could say something like, by implementing a daily check-in system, we reduced miscommunications by 50%.
Oh, that's a good one.
And it shows that you're data-driven.
Right. So we faced this challenge. We overcame it. What's the next step?
Then you want to talk about what you learned from that experience.
Did you discover a new approach to problem solving? Or maybe you learned how important clear communication is. or the value of having a good backup system.
Yeah, those are all really important lessons.
And this actually ties back to something we talked about earlier. Remember the career guide mentioned the growing demand for performance video designers?
Yeah, it's a really fast-growing field.
Exactly. So when you're talking about overcoming challenges, you can also subtly work in that this is a field that requires adaptability.
Well, that's a good way to connect it.
It shows them that you've done your homework.
Okay, so let's move on to the next question. Number 8. How do you measure the success of a performance video design project?
This is a good one.
I feel like it's a little more nuanced than just like counting the applause at the end.
It is. It's about understanding the goals of the project and making sure your work is aligned with those goals.
So like, what are we trying to achieve with the visuals?
Right. Are you enhancing the emotional impact of the performance? Or maybe conveying a specific message? Or creating a truly unique and memorable experience for the audience?
So we need to think about the WHY behind the visuals.
Exactly.
How can we answer this question well?
Talk about the specific metrics you use to evaluate your work.
Okay.
Do you look at audience feedback? Or the reactions of the director and the performers? Maybe you even analyze technical data, like how accurate the projection mapping was.
Oh, okay. So there are lots of different ways to measure success.
Exactly. And you want to connect those metrics back to the goals of the project.
So instead of saying the audience loved it, I could say something like, the goal was to create a sense of unease during a particular scene. And based on our post-show surveys, 85% of the audience reported feeling that way.
Perfect. That's a great example.
Okay, I'm starting to get the hang of this.
And as always, be ready for follow-up questions about adapting your design based on feedback and balancing your creative vision with practical limitations.
Yeah, sometimes you have to make compromises.
Oh, sure.
Okay, let's move on to question number 9. How do you ensure that the video elements enhance the live performance without overshadowing it?
This is a tricky one.
It feels like a delicate balance.
It is. Video design should never steal the show or distract from what's happening on stage.
So it's like a supporting role.
Right.
It's there to enhance the performance,
Yay.
not to take over.
Exactly.
So how can we answer this one well?
You can talk about how you work with the director and the performers to make sure the video is integrated seamlessly.
Okay.
Do you use subtle transitions? Do you choose visuals that complement the lighting and set design? Do you think carefully about the timing of the video cues?
Right, so that you're not distracting from the action on stage.
Exactly. You want to guide the audience's attention, but not in a way that's overwhelming.
So it's all about balance.
It is. And you can also talk about your approach to visual storytelling. How do you use video to create different moods or build tension, or to amplify the emotional impact of a scene?
Right, because video can be so powerful.
It can.
Okay, last question. How do you ensure that your work is accessible and inclusive to all audiences?
This is a really important question.
It shows that they care about these values.
It does. And it shows that they're looking for someone who is thoughtful and who considers the needs of all audience members.
So it's not just about making things look pretty.
Right.
It's about making sure everyone can experience it.
Exactly.
So how can we answer this one well?
You want to demonstrate that accessibility and inclusivity are part of your entire design process.
Okay.
So do you provide captions for people who are deaf or hard of hearing? Do you offer audio descriptions for people who are blind or have low vision? Do you make sure that your imagery is culturally sensitive and that your language avoids stereotypes?
Those are all really important considerations.
They are. And you can also talk about your understanding of universal design principles.
Which is about designing things that are usable by people of all abilities.
Right.
Okay, so it's about making sure everyone feels welcome
Exactly.
and that they can fully engage with the performance.
And remember, this commitment to accessibility and inclusivity should be woven throughout all of your answers, not just this one.
Oh, that's a good point.
It shows that it's something you truly care about.
Not just something you're saying to get the job.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've covered all 10 interview questions. We talked about how to answer them, and we talked about how RoleCatcher's AI can help us prepare. But before we wrap up, I want to talk about one more thing. RoleCatcher's AI has this really cool feature where you can actually do a mock interview.
Oh, yeah, that's a great tool.
You record yourself answering the questions,
Yeah.
and then the AI gives you feedback
It's like having a virtual practice session.
with a professional interviewer.
Exactly.
So you can work out all the kinks before the real interview.
It can help you feel more confident and more prepared.
Wow. I'm definitely going to try that out.
I think you'll find it really helpful.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about the role of a performance video designer. We went through 10 common interview questions. And we explored how RoleCatcher's AI can help us prepare.
And don't forget about all those career insights.
Right, like the growing demand for performance video designers and the trend towards more immersive experiences.
Those are definitely things you want to highlight in your interview.
Okay, so as you're getting ready for this interview, remember to be confident and enthusiastic. Show them your passion for this field and your willingness to learn and grow.
And don't be afraid to let your creativity shine through.
You've got this